Assalamu alaikum. This is Azam Tariq Pardesi. I am presenting Group 5. These are my group members. And topic assigned to me was Introduction of Mughal Empire. So the topic assigned me for Mughal Empire was the King's Dynasty, Rise and Fall of Mughal Empire. The Mughal Empire starts from the Babur. Babur came actually from the Kabul. He is the first king of Mughal Empire. He came from Kabul and defeated Lodhis. He was a great scholar actually and admirer of natural bounty. He built many parks inside and outside of the palace. Humayun raised throne after Babur. Unfortunately, he lost his power in 1540 by Sher Shah. Sher Shah is the third king of the Mughal Empire. He was a great administrator. He built many roads, parks, and introduced a rational system of taxation, as well as he introduced a coin named Rupaya, which is now called rupees. He is died in an accident in 1545. After the Sher Shah, the Akbar the Great. Akbar the Great was very young when he got the throne. Akbar was able to rule a large empire. He divided his empire into 15 provinces, and these provinces are subdivided into sabas, and these sabas have a proper governing system. He was a great ruler. He made policies for minorities as well as majorities. He treated both of them equally. He introduced a religion named Deen Akbari, which was common for all Muslims and non. After Akbar, Jahangir was succeeded Akbar. He gained support of Hindus and other minorities because of his father Akbar. Because of Akbar, he enjoyed a very peaceful reign. Sir Thomas Roy visited India for first time as an ambassador of the England from a king of England. He was the first king who allowed British companies to set factories in the India. After Jahangir, Shah Jahan won take the seat of Mughal Empire. He dealt with many rewards. He was a great architecture. He built many historical places and buildings like Taj Mahal in Agra, India, and Badshai Mosque in Lahore, Pakistan. After the Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb took the throne, and he was a good Muslim. He was an honest as well as led a very simple lifestyle. Aurangzeb made very tough policies for minorities, and the Mughal Empire started collapsing after his death. After his death, many ups and downs has come and gone. His sons fighting for throne and their sons fighting for throne, and this process will continue until the last king of Mughal Empire, Bahadur Shah Zafar. In 1837, Bahadur Shah Zafar raised the throne, and he was allowed to retain the imperial title. He was fond of poetry and was titled Zafar. At the last age, while he was fighting with British, he was captured and deported to Rangoon. In the Rangoon jail, he said this famous saying, "कितना बदनसीब ज़फ़र दफन के लिए, दो गज़ ज़मी भी न मिल सकी कोई यार." Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Mudassir Iqbal, and the topic which is assigned to me is the rise of Mughal Empire. Almost all the kings played an important role in the rise of this empire. The Mughal Empire was founded by Babur, a Central Asian ruler who was descended from Turco-Mongol conqueror Timur on his father's side and Genghis Khan on his mother's side. He established himself in Kabul and pushed steadily southward into India from Afghanistan through Khyber Pass. Babur forces occupied much of the northern India after his victory in Panipat in 1526. He built many parks inside and outside the palaces. Though he laid the foundation of Mughal rule in India, he did not live long to see it growing. The instability of empire became evident under his son Humayun, who was driven out of India and into Persia by rebels. Humayun, exiled in Persia, established diplomatic ties between the Safavid and Mughal courts and led to increasing Persian cultural influence in the Mughal Empire. Now the next king was the Akbar the Great. The Akbar the Great was a 16th century Mughal ruler of subcontinent who led to this empire to never before seen heights. Through warfare and diplomacy, Akbar was able to extend the empire in all directions and controlled almost the entire Indian subcontinent north of Godavari River. He created a new class of nobility loyal to him, from military aristocracy of India's social groups, implemented a modern government, and supported a cultural development. Akbar intensified trade with European trading companies. India developed a strong economy which led to commercial expansion and economic development. Akbar allowed a free expression of religion. He also created a new religion, Din-e-Ilahi. His son Jahangir was dedicated to the expansion of Mughal held territories through conquest. During the reign of Jahangir's son Shah Jahan, the culture and splendor of luxurious Mughal court reached its zenith as exemplified by the Taj Mahal. The Mughal Empire continued to expand moderately during his reign as his son commanded large army at the different fronts. During Aurangzeb's reign, the empire gained political strength once more, but his religious conservatism and intolerance undermined the stability of Mughal Empire. Aurangzeb expanded the empire to include almost the whole of South Asia, but at his death in 1707, many parts of the empire were in open revolt. The core philosophy of Akbar and his successors up to Aurangzeb was to expand the power of the Mughal over the entire subcontinent and to deepen their administrative control over the rural and urban subjects by a wise and a liberal philosophy of integration, the policy of integration. Yet the Mughals not only expanded their territorial extent by war and conquest, they also devised administrative measures to consolidate themselves as a ruler by winning the loyalty of their subjects.
Hello everyone, my name is Hassan, and the topic that I'm gonna discuss with you guys is Mughal administration and its divisions. So the first thing in Mughal administration was the formation of a centralized institutions. King Akbar was the first king who established a centralized administration that was capable of a steady expansion as new lands were added to the empire. At the apex of the system was the emperor himself, who acted as the chief executive. There were four main officials who controlled this whole system. The first one was Diwan, who was in charge of finance and revenue. Number second was Mir Bakshi, who was in charge of army and intelligence. Number third was Qazi, who was in charge of the judiciary. Number 4 was Mir Sama, who was in charge of royal households and central workshops, buildings, roads and canals, etc. And at the top of this system was the emperor himself, who controlled the external affairs. In Mughal Empire, every official, high or low, had a rank or a mansab. Their status, their duties, and pay and importance were graded according to their mansab. All mansabdars had two ranks. The first one was Zat, their personal salary, and the second was Sawar, the payment for their military contingent or their military contribution. In the Jagirdari system, all the Mughal mansabdars were paid in the form of Jagirs. These Jagirs can be linked to the Ifta system in the Delhi Sultanate, where the Sultan parceled out their territories to be administered by the state officials or the nobles. These officials were responsible for maintaining law and order and collection of land revenue. The Iqtidars used to send the surplus revenue back to the central institution after meeting the necessary expenses. One thing that we should keep in mind is that the mansabdars were not responsible for maintaining law and order or any other responsibility other than collecting revenue. In the Zamindari system, the revenue was collected on the basis of hereditary right. The system was administered by the local elites and landowners who were known as the Zamindars. In Mughal Empire, the land revenue was imposed on the actual crop, not on the land. This type of revenue system was known as sharecropping, which led to the formation of the system known as Kenkyut, in which the share was reduced on the basis of the previous harvest. Later on, King Akbar introduced the Zabt system, in which a standard cash was fixed on the basis of the 10 years of harvest. In addition to these land revenues, there were other taxes imposed, on such as animals, wastelands and forests. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum, I am Hamza and I am going to cover economy of the Mughal Empire. Indian economy was large and prosperous under the Mughal Empire. During the Mughal era, the gross domestic product of India in 1600 was estimated about 22% of world's economy, which was second largest economy in the world, behind only China, but larger than Europe. By 1700, the GDP of Mughal India had risen to 24% of the world's economy, the largest in the world, larger than both China and Western Europe. Mughal India was the world's leader in manufacturing, producing about 25% of the world's industrial outputs until the 18th century. Mughals introduced a uniform currency in their whole empire, and they're responsible for building an extensive road system which made trade easier to conduct. The Mughals adopted and standardized the rupee and dam currencies, which was introduced by Sher Shah Suri during his brief rule. Real wages and living standards in 18th century Mughal Bengal and South India were higher than in Britain, which in turn had a higher living standard in Europe. Indian agricultural production increased under the Mughal Empire. A variety of crops were grown, including food crops such as wheat, rice, and barley, and non-food cash crops such as cotton, indigo, and opium. By the mid 17th century, Indian cultivators began to extensively grow two new crops from Americas, maize and tobacco. The Mughal administration emphasized agrarian reforms. The Mughal government funded the building of irrigation system across the empire, which produced much higher crop yield and increased the net revenue base, leading to increased agricultural production. A major Mughal reform introduced by Akbar was new land revenue system called Zabt. He replaced the tribute system previously common in India with a monetary tax system based on uniform currency. Mughal agriculture was much more advanced than European agriculture at that time. Mughals also used to export their agricultural products to Europe and the Ottoman Empire. Mughals also had textile industries and the shipbuilding industries. The largest manufacturing industry in the Mughal Empire was textile manufacturing. The cotton textile industry was responsible for a large part of empire's international trade. India has 25% share of the global textile trade in the early 18th century. Mughal India had a large shipbuilding industry, which was also largely centered in Bengal province. Indian shipbuilding, particularly in Bengal, was advanced compared to European shipbuilding at that time, with Indians selling ships to European firms. The Bengal Suba province was especially prosperous for the time of its takeover by the Mughals in 1590 until the British East India Company seized control in 1757. It was the Mughal Empire's wealthiest province and the economic powerhouse of the Mughal Empire, estimated to have generated up to 50% of the empire's GDP.
Everyone, my name is Moaz Manzoor. The topic of my presentation is Mughal culture. The Mughal period set a norm of architecture, painting, literature and music which deeply influenced the succeeding generations. Because of having wonderful cultural development, the Mughal period is compared to the second classical age after the Gupta age of northern India. During the Mughal period, the cultural development of India amalgamated with the Turco-Iranian culture brought to the country by the Mughals. Now talking about the architecture, the Mughal built magnificent fort, palaces, garden, etc. Babur was very fond of gardens, hence he built Mughal garden like the Nishad Bagh garden in Kashmir, the Shalimar Bagh garden in Lahore, the Pinjore garden in Chandigarh, etc., which can be seen today. Akbar was the first Mughal ruler. He was built of red sandstone, which had many magnificent gates. In 1572, Akbar commenced a Fatehpur Sirki palace, 36 km from Agra. Their Gujarati, Persian, and Central Asian style can be seen in the glazed blue titles used for decoration in the walls. Under the reign of Shah Jahan, Taj Mahal was constructed. The Taj Mahal is a great example of the Mughal architecture, which brought together all the architectural forms developed by the Mughals in a very pleasing manner. The Mughal architectural tradition is based on the combination of Hindu Turco-Iranian forms along with the decorative designs continued during the 18th and early 19th centuries. Painting. Talking about the painting, the Mughal made a distinctive contribution in the field of painting. They introduced many new themes portraying the court, battleground and the chase scenes. During the Akbar reign, the two great painters Jaswant and Daswan organized painting in one of the imperial establishments. Besides, a large number of painters from different parts of the country were invited in Akbar court. Under Jahangir period, Mughal painting was at climax, who had a peculiar sense of the painting. Mansoor was the great name in the field. During those days, it was a fashion in the Mughal school that in a single painting, the face, the body, and the feet of a person to be painted by different artists. About the language, although Persian was the official language of the empire, Mughal were also able to speak Urdu. Urdu borrowed vocabulary from Persian, Arabic, and Turkish languages. During the Mughal period, regional languages also developed due to the patronage extended to them by the local regional rulers. For the literature, under Akbar reign, Persian prose and poetry were at climax. Abul Fazl, who was a great scholar and leading historian in the Akbar court, set a style of prose writing which was emulated for many generations. Faizi, brother of Abul Fazl, worked for the Akbar translation department. The translation of the Mahabharata was carried out under his supervision. Similarly, Utbi and Nazri were the two great Persian poets. They came from Iran to India and made the Mughal court one of the cultural center of the Islamic world. Besides, Hindus also contributed to the growth of Persian literature. Apart from literary and historical works, a number of famous dictionaries of the Persian languages were also compiled in this period. Talking about the religion, the Mughal Empire ruled most of the India, Pakistan in the 16th and 17th centuries. Who is credited with composing many news, melodies, and drugs. Jahangir and Shah Jahan, as well as many Mughal nobles, also had given very much importance to music. And thank you for your listening.
I am Arsalan Hussain. I will deliberate upon the fall of the Mughal Empire, which is considered to be the largest empire in the Muslim history. The fall of the Mughal Empire can be traced back in the era of Aurangzeb, which extends from 1658 towards 1707. There were considered to be the four major causes which led towards the declination of Mughal Empire, which were political, religious, civil wars, and wars of succession and foreign invasions. Aurangzeb has adopted the same policy like his ancestors Babur and Akbar to extend his empire further, but eventually the communication, political, and economic structure has made it difficult for the administration to administer such a large empire from one center like Delhi. Further, the resources were drained due to the longest war against Marathas, failure to the triumphs against Marathas, and conflicts with Rajput states, and uprisings of Sikhs, Jats, and other common people due to the oppression of revenue officials toward these peasants, led toward the devastation of trade and industries of Deccan. Coming toward the religious cause, the religious orthodoxy and policy towards Hindu was another major issue from the Mughal emperors. Devastation of several temples, schools, and various restrictions and imposition of jizya was another major issue which led towards the deterioration of Mughal Empire in religious cause. Coming toward the wars of succession and civil war, there was no fixed rule from the ancestor for their princes to rule the Mughal Empire. So these princes involved in civil wars and wars of succession, which eventually led towards the major loss of life, property, military commanders, competent officials, and other soldiers. Unlike the other reigns, the existing families began to monopolize offices and noble ranks. So these noble officials started monopolies, and they were promoting their self-interest regardless of their talent, and these all wars of succession and civil wars opened the space for foreign invasion. So eventually it caused that empire was unable to fulfill all the needs of population, and further the Mughal army lacked discipline, competence, and morale. Lack of finance made it difficult to maintain such a large army, and last but not the least, coming towards the foreign invasion, Ahmad Shah Abdali, which was Afghan ruler, attacked the Mughal Empire, and he further devastated the military and other industries and resources of Mughal Empire. And Nadir Shah, who was Persian conqueror, he eventually attacked the Mughal Empire due to the less of cohesion and weakness of administration. So these all led towards the decline of the Mughal Empire, and which eventually led the wealth, trade, industries, and military weakness of Mughal Empire. So these all contributed to the fall of the Mughal Empire.